Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto has supreme genetic bloodline and harem with Hinata fem Sasuke part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. The Fourth Great Ninja War was in the making and the sides have been drawn. The Shinobi Alliance, still in its infant steps, is already threatening to fall apart over an unexpected issue that none of the great villages had foreseen. As the five great nations prepare for war and their representatives argue over which course of action to take in dealing with Madara and the Akatsuki with the Lord of the Land of Iron. Konohagakure is currently embroiled in a controversy and was taking steps to try and remedy the issue of a political marriage proposal by the Raikage to them that could threaten the fragile alliance's existence. The Leaf Village's Elder Council along with the representatives of the clan heads and the Hokage had been in session for most of the day and the tension in the air was practically visible as they discussed the marriage proposal by the Raikage towards Konoha. "This is unacceptable," Udatane Kaharu bellowed to make her voice heard. "As intriguing and politically sound it may be, we cannot give in to the demands of the Raikage." "I have to agree," Hyuga Hiyashi grunted. Marrying off one of the most talented and gifted kunoichi Konoha had ever seen to Kumogakure is beyond insanity, it's utterly ridiculous. "We cannot hand off Haruno Sakura to the Raikage, her skills in the medical field are bound to surpass that of her master, let alone she also holds the slug summoning contract. We cannot agree to such a deal." "Here, here," several voices called out in agreement. A small sigh escaped a person that had been up to now been entirely silent. The man rubbed the bridge of his nose with his fingers. "As much as I want to agree with the arguments against the Raikage's proposal, we have to think about the consequences. Kumo has agreed to suspend any hostilities against Konoha, as well as overlook our little ploy in the matter of the Hyuga. Can we really afford not to hand over young Haruno to the Raikage? Homura, are you insane?" Kaharu bellowed at her long-time friend, teammate, and lover before adding. "Hiruzen as well as Sensei would never approve of such a deal. This proposal, it will only cripple Konoha in the long run. We cannot forget about the other great nations. Sunagakure has voiced their outrage at the Raikage's proposal and is threatening to leave the alliance." Nara Shikaku spoke up and silenced any arguments. "But what are Suna's real intentions? They are allied with us regardless. If we are to fight Madara and his Akatsuki ilk, they have no choice than to follow our lead. None of this makes any sense," Kaharu muttered and rubbed her temples in order to release the building headache that was slowly forming. A soft chuckle escaped from behind a tiny orange book and Kakashi spoke up, "I wouldn't worry about Sunagakure. As many of you know, the Kazekage has a special relationship with Team 7. His objections to this proposal are purely a show of force towards the other cages." "Hitaki-san, a word please," Danzo spoke up as he gently caressed the top of his cane. "Danzo," Kakashi's voice turned several degrees colder. "You will address me as Hokage-sama and you shouldn't even be here after the stunt you pulled." "But," Kakashi raised his hand to silence Danzo's retort. "You still have valuable information and assets within your root program and I am not a blind man to see that you had only the best intentions for Konoha at heart. But let me be clear, Danzo, one more step in the wrong direction and I will end you personally, is that clear?" Kakashi asked in a very calm voice that held so much murderous intent that several people within the meeting squirmed uneasily on their seats. Danzo merely chuckled as his lone eye looked straight at Kakashi as if a snake was studying their prey and calculating when to strike. To be expected of the Yondaime's precious student, such a refined killing intent without the use of chakra, it is commendable. Kakashi's eyebrow rose. "Should I take that as an insult or a compliment?" "Take it as you wish, Hokage-sama," Danzo replied with a hint of disdain in his voice before continuing. "However, I did not come here to argue my past actions with you. I came here simply as the Black Ops commander of Root and I have an alternative solution to propose that should solve our problem with the Raikage and keep this fledgling alliance from falling." Quiet murmuring broke out and Kakashi sighed as he closed his orange book and placed it away. He folded his hands on top of his table and nodded for Danzo to proceed. The old war hawk smiled and slowly stood up from where he sat and walked into the center of the room. He came to a stop and studied each individual carefully before addressing the entire council. Honored councilmen, you have all voiced your opinions and concerns about this marriage proposal all day, but none of us have given a thought towards solving the problem. More murmurs broke out and Danzo raised his good arm to call for silence, but when nobody obeyed, Danzo turned towards Kakashi and without asking, the Hokage nodded and slammed his gavel down calling for order. Thank you Hokage-sama, Danzo muttered and returned to studying each councilman. As I was saying, we are in need of a solution that will not only let Konoha keep their pride but also ensuring that the Raikage isn't offended. Keeping this alliance working, while at the same time stroking the egos of each nation is going to be difficult enough as it is, and that is without having this ridiculous proposal hammer a wedge in between us all. Get on with it Danzo, Koharu growled. We don't have all day to listen to your poison-laced speeches. Hiruzen should have put you in place a long time ago, and I regret all those years that I have listened to your lies. What is your plan in regards of avoiding Kumogakure's plans? Danzo smirked evilly as his lone eye studied the elder, and the root commander turned towards addressing the Hokage. It is quite simple. Haruno Sakura needs to marry a leaf shinobi, preferably today, in order to let Kumo and the alliance know that the Raikage's proposal is out of the question. Silence, utter silence was the only way to describe the reaction of the council to Danzo's simple yet effective solution. However, there was one person in the room that was utterly furious and about to explode. This is out of the question. I will never allow my apprentice to marry someone from Konoha based solely on avoiding an issue with Kumo. Marriage isn't a tool to avoid or strengthen one's alliances. Tsunade, Danzo growled. Your overprotectiveness of your apprentice is well known and documented. Wasn't it you that first thought about arranging a marriage between your apprentice and a certain blonde boy? Danzo said as he saw the enraged eyes of the former Hokage settle on him, and he pulled out a folder out of his robes to wave it in the air to show it to everyone. Wasn't it you that ordered a bloodline research on both Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruto? Tsunade's face took on a pensive sheepish look when she heard Danzo reveal that bit of information. Wasn't it you that discovered a high success rate in the creation of a new bloodline if those two shinobi were to breed? Tell us Tsunade, why haven't you ever informed the council of this discovery? Why have you held such vital information secret for all these years? And yes, Danzo turned to address the council. She has known about this for years. In fact, one of her first acts as Godime Hokage was to order not one or two as it would be usual. No, she ordered a total of 5 research teams to decipher the genes hidden in the blood of both Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruto and check them for compatibility. So why don't you enlighten us Tsunade-sama, what did your research team discover? Danzo, Tsunade growled through clenched teeth, and the room was flooded with her killing intent. Danzo, that is enough, Kakashi barked and turned towards his predecessor. Is this true Tsunade? Did you really order a bloodline research examination of Sakura and Naruto? Yes, Tsunade hissed and looked away in shame. Why? Kakashi asked, knowing fair well the entire attention of the council was now upon him and Tsunade. Tsunade looked up from where she sat and studied the shocked expression on the councilman. She sighed, and for the first time in a long time, she finally felt as old as she now looked after her recovery from Pain's attack on Konoha. I only became Hokage because of Naruto, and as we traveled back to Konoha, he wouldn't shut up about this village. He praised the village and the villagers, every last one of them, even after what they had subjugated him to. He constantly talked about Sakura as well, how much he loved her, and that he would do anything for her. I simply was curious. Tsunade answered, revealing parts of the feelings she held for both her apprentice and Naruto. Kakashi was about to tell Tsunade to continue, but the Godime Hokage beat him to the point as she resumed her story after an extended pause. And when I finally met Sakura and saw her excel through the medical exams and training like nobody I've ever seen before, I had to know what would happen if those two were to end up having children together. I had to also consider Naruto's condition as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki in as well. It is not entirely known what happens to Jinchuriki children, let alone if they are capable of life. So I ordered the tests and I dispatched that many teams because I wanted to be certain. And what did the research discover, Tsunade-sama? Kakashi asked as he tried to hide his frown at this unexpected discovery. The research showed that if those two were to have children, there would be an 80% chance for their offspring to unlock a new bloodline, Tsunade muttered, and the council immediately started a frenzy of conversation with one another. Kakashi leaned closer. 80%? Are you certain? That is unheard of. It's practically guaranteeing that if those two were to produce offspring, there will be a new bloodline born from their combined genes. I'm certain, Hokage-sama. Then I would say this solves all of our problems. Danzo announced before adding, Konoha gets to keep one of its most talented kunoichi it has ever seen. And as a bonus, our village will be blessed with a new bloodline that could rival those of the famed Hyuga or Uchiha. So Hokage-sama, I submit that in order to ensure the continuation of the Shinobi Alliance, maintain our village's strength, and keep Kumo in check, Haruno Sakura must marry Uzumaki Naruto. I'm sorry, Kakashi. I should have told you about this a long time ago, not only since you were their sensei but also because of your special connection to Naruto. However, I'm positive that some of the factors leading to this high success rate lay within the Kyuubi's chakra that is infused within Naruto's chakra system and possible even his genetic code. And I wanted to do some more research and testing of Naruto to get a better understanding before I brought this matter to you. Tsunade whispered to the silver-haired Hokage. Yes, you should have, Tsunade. Kakashi agreed in an angry whisper before adding. But I can understand your reasoning of wanting to gain more information, especially when it involves the Kyuubi no Yuko. Truth be told, Kakashi couldn't blame Tsunade for her curiosity. He himself had wondered many times if Naruto and Sakura were to become a couple, what the outcome would have for the village. Now he guessed, he finally had some form of an answer to his musings. The masked Hokage straightened himself and grabbed his gavel before hammering it several times onto his desk to call for order and silence. When the room's attention was back on him, he cleared his throat. Danzo, thank you for bringing this discovery to our attention. I believe your suggestion of marrying Haruno Sakura to the Leaf Shinobi Uzumaki Naruto would prove to be an asset and be beneficial to the village. That is correct, Hokage-sama, Danzo replied as he sat back in his chair. We shouldn't simply pass up the opportunity to create a new bloodline. Even if their children wouldn't be gifted with a new bloodline, they will still create an immensely powerful clan. Imagine Konoha having ninja with Uzumaki's incredible chakra reserves and Haruno's almost godlike chakra control. Konoha would be a new force to be reckoned with. The potential to surpass the legendary Senju and Uchiha is right there in front of us and only needs to be nurtured into the proper direction. Yes, Hokage-sama, a union between Uzumaki and Haruno is vital to Konoha's survival. You can't just decide this, Tsunade barked in anger. They have lives of their own and. Tsunade-sama, Kakashi interrupted her and cut her off with a stern look. Who is in favor of Danzo's proposal of marrying Haruno Sakura to Uzumaki Naruto in order to negate the Raikage's proposal and to see the birth of a new potentially strong bloodline and clan for the Leaf Village? Kakashi, Tsunade hissed in shock, unnerved that the silver-haired Hokage had even considered this option. Kakashi looked once more at his predecessor and Tsunade saw a look of defeat on the man's face and a silent plea for her to hold her tongue. He turned back towards the council and he exhaled a heavy sigh at seeing every person within the room having raised their hand in acceptance of Danzo's proposal. Very well, it shall be done, Kakashi said and slammed down his gavel in a show of acceptance of the council's wishes. We shall have a short recess while Anbu will fetch Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruto. In the meantime, I will be in my office and prepare the necessary documents. Hokage-sama, a word please, Tsunade spoke up, as she rose from her seat to walk over to the center of the council chamber to address everyone present. And without waiting for Kakashi to yield the floor to her, Tsunade started speaking. I am not sorry that I have kept this discovery a secret. All of you just proved that you would rather have a new bloodline for this village to rely on than consider the damage your decision could create to those two. All of you disgust me. But, Tsunade paused briefly to gather her thoughts. I will give my blessing to this union, even if it will be against Naruto's and Sakura's wishes on the condition that Naruto's heritage will be made public. That boy, no, I should say that man has sacrificed so much for our village during his young life. Revealing his heritage now is the right thing to do. He is finally accepted by the villagers and is even more accepted by the other Kages for his strength and bravery in defeating pain. It is time that we finally honor the last wishes of the Yondaime Hokage and inform Naruto, the village, and the other nations that Konoha holds the heir to the Hiraishin no Jutsu. That's outrageous. Revealing Naruto's true heritage to the villagers as well as the other nations is dangerous. Iwagakure will instantly declare war upon us for the simple reason that Naruto is Minato's son. Koharu barked. No, they won't, Kakashi interrupted. Iwagakure will swallow their pride because they know that Naruto could rain more destruction upon them than Minato-sensei ever could. Iwa might be a warmongering village, but they are no fools. Kakashi inwardly debated with himself whether to agree with Tsunade's proposal or not. Yet deep down, he knew that he would need Tsunade's help in controlling Sakura's explosion of anger once the Kunoichi realized that the council had decided her life for her. I agree with Tsunade-sama, Kakashi finally spoke up and silenced the entire room. Besides, Naruto already knows that the Yondaime was his father. It is time for Naruto to claim his birthright, and it might help sway Sakura's reaction towards marrying Naruto in the village's favor. However, I would like for everyone present here to understand this, Sakura will most likely not accept this decision lightly. When those two enter and are told that their lives have been decided for them by us, prepare for potentially having to fight for your lives. And I will also be naming Naruto as my successor to be when the time has come. Several shocked expressions were visible on a few council members, and Tsunade smirked as she and Kakashi's eyes met. He motioned with a nod of his head for her to follow, and both quickly vanished to prepare the necessary documentations and have an argument Kakashi knew he'd rather avoid. Kakashi sat in his chair and was preparing the marriage contract for Naruto and Sakura to sign. He currently heated some wax and pushed the melting wax next to his signature on the document. He quickly pushed the Hokage's seal upon the red spot of melted wax, and he sighed with resignation when he inspected the document. Would you like to take a look? Kakashi asked Tsunade politely, who up until now had been eerily quiet. She looked at him with cold eyes and snatched the scroll out of his hands and scanned the contents. She read the text and saw that this was up to a certain degree a regular arranged marriage contract that she herself had signed numerous times in the past. However, the part that had her frowning were the sections that Kakashi had added. She reread the entire contract before finally handing it back to Kakashi so the contract could be copied several times, and stated with disbelief. You can't be serious about this. Yes, I am. Kakashi muttered and flashed through a few hand signs to copy the scroll numerous times. But demanding them to produce an heir within a year is unheard of. Tsunade muttered in anger. You are robbing Konoha of Sakura's skills in this upcoming war. You can't do that to her or to Naruto. This entire deal will be difficult enough to explain to Sakura as it is, let alone order that they produce a child immediately. Don't you think I don't know that? Kakashi said as he looked out over the village. But we're at war, and if we already decide their lives for them, we might as well tell them to get started with their new clan. I don't like this, Kakashi. Tsunade spat. This feels like we are playing to Danzo's tune again. Even forcing the council to agree to give Naruto a council seat and both of them be given a sizable monetary reward as reparations isn't making any of this easier to accept. I am telling you, Kakashi, this is going to come back to bite us in the eventually. Most likely, Kakashi said dejectedly before adding with a sigh. I wasn't a very good sensei for the two of them, was I? I had hoped I could be a better Hokage for them now, but it seems I can never break away from my past. Tsunade scoffed. From what I was told, no, you weren't. You bettered yourself, but to put it frankly, you failed miserably at being their sensei. Kakashi could only nod his head in sad agreement, as he pulled out a bottle of sake from his desk and offered some to the busty blonde woman before saying, I hate that I have to do this. I mean, who could have imagined that the Raikage was so impressed with Sakura's skills, as she dealt with Killer Bee and Kisame? That he would make such an outrageous proposal and threaten to pull out of the Shinobi Alliance if his wishes were not granted. I almost want to blame Sakura herself for this mess. If she wasn't so damn gifted, and I am not only talking about her skills as a kunoichi and medic nin, but also her unique gift that keep people like Naruto and Killer Bee in line when they get out of control. Those two are terrified of Sakura. Tsunade smirked. Yes, I can agree to that. Sakura does have a rather short leash on Naruto. Don't misunderstand, Kakashi. In a small sick way, I'm happy and glad that those two are forced to marry each other and raise a clan. They have around their mutual feelings for too long, and perhaps this will be the inspiration they needed for them to finally acknowledge each other. Yet I can't help but wish they could have decided this for themselves. I agree, Kakashi muttered and sipped on his sake before adding. Unfortunately, this solution will only cause another problem for the village thanks to that bloated gorilla of a Raikage. What do you mean, Kakashi? Well, you see, Tsunade, what I haven't told you and the council yet, is that the Raikage put in a stipulation within his proposal in case we were to reject and deny Sakura being married off to him. What sort of stipulation? I suppose stipulation isn't the right word, it's more of an insistent demand. He says that if we deny his betrothal to Sakura, then he wants in compensation. An Anbu appeared in the office interrupting what Kakashi was about to say and announced. Hokage-sama, they are waiting for you. The council members have returned and Uzumaki and Haruno are waiting as well. Thank you. We'll be on our way, Kakashi said and sent the Anbu away. I'll just tell you and the council about the compensation demand from the Raikage at the same time, shall we, Tsunade? Tsunade nodded, but was very curious to know what Kakashi was about to reveal to her. Kakashi and Tsunade came walking down the hallway, and when they rounded the corner they froze to a stop, as they saw Sakura stomping on Naruto and yelling at him. Naruto, for the umpteenth time, stop telling me what to do. I don't like the idea of marrying the Raikage either, but if that is what it takes for this alliance to work, who am I to deny that? But Sakura-chan, you can't, Naruto stammered out as her foot continuously slammed down upon him. Haruno, Sakura. Stop this at once. Sakura turned and her face bore a shocked expression, and she quickly pulled Naruto to his feet and forced him to bow with her in respect. Sorry, Hokage-sama, Tsunade Shisho. I didn't mean for you to see or hear. That's quite alright, Sakura-san, Kakashi said and walked towards the door. We will call both of you inside in a few minutes. For now, please bear with waiting. Tsunade-sama, Kakashi called over to his predecessor, who was intently watching the two younger shinobi starting to bicker and fight again. Shisho, is everything alright? Sakura asked, as she had pummeled Naruto into the wall once more for speaking up and voicing his disagreement with the Raikage's proposition to marry her. Sakura took a step forward and wanted to place a reassuring hand on Tsunade's shoulder when the busty blonde shook awake from her thoughts. I'm sorry, Sakura. I am quite fine. I was just thinking, Tsunade said and patted the pinkett on the shoulder. Listen to me, Sakura. No matter what the council has decided, you have to understand that it is only in the best interest for you and Konoha. Hi Tsunade Shisho, Sakura answered weakly, believing her mentor had given her a glimpse at what would await her inside the council chambers. Ba-chan, Naruto yelled as he sprung up from the crumbled pile that was his body. You can't let Sakura-chan marry that old fart. She is a Konoha shinobi. She belongs here, where her friends and family are. Naruto, shut up. Sakura growled and punched him into the wall again as she saw tears shimmering in Tsunade's eyes, and Sakura accepted the inevitable that her future lay no longer in Konoha but in Kumogakure. Please Naruto, don't make this any harder than it already is, Sakura pleaded with him. But Sakura-chan, Naruto said in a hurt voice. Kakashi and Tsunade didn't hear the continuation between Naruto and Sakura's argument as they entered the council chamber. Kakashi leaned closer to Tsunade and whispered, "Why did you make her believe that we were sending her to Kumogakure? Why torture them? I never said that we'd send her to Kumo. She assumed and accepted her fate," Tsunade whispered back, and she wiped a tear away. Okay, but why are you crying? Kakashi asked in confusion. Because she is willing to give up her life without a second thought for Konoha, Tsunade muttered. I just hope she will react this same way when we tell her that she has to marry Naruto and bear an heir within a year. Let's hope so. Kakashi replied thoughtfully and wondered how he would break the news to his two former students. He quickly took his seat and placed the scroll that contained the marriage contract on the table. He also placed two more scrolls on the table that were used to promote a shinobi to the rank of Jonin, and lastly, Kakashi unsealed a set of 3 scrolls that were bound together by a gold robe and added them to the collection on the table. Kakashi slammed his gavel onto the table numerous times, signifying that the council was officially back in session. Before we call in Naruto and Sakura, Kakashi began. I would like to inform you all of the stipulations that I have attached to the condition of this marriage deal. Firstly, Naruto and Sakura have a right to know why they are forced into this arranged marriage. Secondly, they are required to produce an heir within a year, starting today. And lastly, Naruto as head of the Namikaze clan shall be granted a council seat. Furthermore, both he and Sakura will receive a starting sum of 20 million ryo for sacrificing their free choice for this village. And they will receive another 5 million ryo for every child born in the next 10 years. That's outrageous, Koharu barked in anger. You already said he would become your heir to the throne of the Hokage. Isn't that enough? No, it is not, Kakashi said in a cold tone that left no room for argument. Everyone here present voted for them to be pushed into this situation, and you can't expect them to agree without any sort of compensation. But aren't they already gaining enough by announcing Uzumaki's heritage? Koharu asked. What is there to gain from the Namikaze name, fame? Please, everyone here knows that the Yondaime Hokage was a simple man. He had no wealth, no council seat, and certainly no clan. All that man had was his love for Kushina, his teacher, and his students. Minato Namikaze, however, did have many enemies. The only thing Naruto and Sakura will gain from publicizing Naruto's heritage is the possibility of gaining even more enemies than they already have. Kakashi stated with disdain, as he wanted to scream at everyone present but refrained from doing so. I apologize, Hokage-sama, Koharu spoke up again. I didn't mean to downplay Uzumaki's, I mean Namikaze's and Haruno's sacrifice for our village by denying them compensation. I merely wanted to understand your reasoning behind these demands. Please, I am sorry. Kakashi nodded his acceptance of the apology and studied everyone's faces before announcing. Now, if there aren't any other complaints, it is time we call in Naruto and Sakura and inform them of the council's decision. Gomenasai, Hokage-sama, Yamanaka Inoichi spoke up as he stood. Would it be alright for my daughter to sit in on this part of the meeting? I believe this meeting will be a great opportunity for my daughter to finally realize the importance behind our meetings, and I hope she will learn to take her life as a shinobi and future clan head more seriously. Kakashi mulled over Inoichi's request and nodded. Very well, Inoichi-san. You may summon your daughter, but make it clear to her that she is here only for observation. She has no right to speak and voice her opinion. Certainly, Lord Hokage, and thank you. Inoichi bowed in respect and told one of the Anbu stationed by the door to fetch his daughter. Inoichi voiced an excellent idea. Kakashi spoke up as the blonde Yamanaka spoke to the Anbu. Would any other honored clan wish for their respected heirs to attend this meeting? Several clan leaders looked at each other until Shikaku spoke up. Yes, Hokage-sama. I believe this might be the inspiration my son Shikamaru might require. Very well. Kakashi raised his arm to summon an Anbu. When the Anbu appeared next to him, Kakashi spoke and watched the rest of the clan heads slowly raise their own hands in a show of wishing their offspring to sit in on this meeting. Please fetch Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, Inazuka Kiba, and Aburame Shino. Hyuga-san, what about your daughter Hinata? Would you not want her to sit in on this meeting as well? I am sorry, Hokage-sama, but I am not entirely certain yet if Hinata is capable of leading the clan. For the time being, I'd like to tutor her some more privately. Please excuse a father for wanting only the best for his daughter, Hiyashi Hyuga spoke up. Understood. It's perhaps better that she not attend this council session anyway. Kakashi stated, as he signaled the Anbu to retrieve the other clan heirs. Hiyashi Hyuga raised an eyebrow slightly at Kakashi's statement, but then realized that the Hokage was merely looking out for Hinata, as it would be painful for the girl to see her crush forced to marry another. Kakashi pulled out and flipped his Ika book open to read while silently praying that Sakura was in a good mood and would remember her selfless words that she had used in order to calm down Naruto outside the council chamber mere moments ago. The council waited for roughly 10 minutes as every clan heir trickled into the chamber and took their seats behind their respected parent. All of them held a curious and confused expression, but none of them spoke, demanding answers to their sudden summons. Kakashi slowly pushed himself out of his chair and stood and asked. I believe most of you are wondering why you have been summoned. Kakashi asked of the new arrivals before he continued on. The leaders of your respected clans have decided that today's meeting would be a viable tool to teach you the importance behind council sessions. I hope all of you will listen carefully and pay close attention. In truth, the majority has already been decided, but I have decided and allowed you to sit in on this meeting because it will with no doubt affect all of you. I will say this only once, but everything that is said within this room will stay here. It is not to be discussed with anyone, not even with other councilmen. You have no official say on any matter discussed, and I expect all of you to keep quiet and to observe. Kakashi then turned towards the Anbu guard at the door and signaled for Naruto and Sakura, and the Anbu guard briefly stepped outside to inform that Naruto and Sakura could enter. Now Naruto, remember to behave. Only speak when spoken to, got it? Sakura warned him slightly as they entered the council chamber together. She unintentionally leaned closer and Naruto's back stiffened abruptly at the closeness towards her. She whispered into his ear, no matter what they decide, don't overreact. There will be a reasonable explanation to their decision, promise me. Naruto nodded quickly but otherwise didn't say a word. Kakashi watched them and he wondered what Sakura had just told him. He waited for his two former pupils to reach the center of the room, and when they turned towards them he stood up from where he sat and clasped his hands behind his back. The white Hokage robe hung loosely over his frame and showed it being a size too large in the shoulder area. I must look ridiculous, Kakashi thought as he gathered the proper words to address them. He decided to start off with the pleasant information first, namely their promotions to the rank of Junin. Welcome Naruto and Sakura, Kakashi started nervously but quickly controlled his emotions as he pressed on. I am delighted to inform you of one of my first orders as the Rokudaime Hokage. I hereby promote you to the rank of Junin within the Konohagakure Ninja Corps. Congratulations, both of you, these are your official promotion letters. Kakashi watched the stunned expression and handed them each their appropriate scroll. After they received them and were given a chance to process this new information, Naruto bore a wide grin and Sakura was smiling as well. Kakashi cleared his throat to get their attention again. Now I trust you two with the rank of Junin Shinobi, not only because you both have proven yourselves capable of leadership and knowledge of the shinobi arts, but also because both of you have proven numerous times that you can put the need of the masses before the need of the few. Even as you were told to put the success of the mission before your friends and teammates, I am proud that you two were able to never give up your nindo in order to complete the mission. Your dedication towards your friends and teammates are commendable, and I wish from the deepest of my heart that you two understand that with this promotion comes great responsibility. He paused and inhaled to gather his strength. He looked at his two newly appointed Junin and it twisted his heart at seeing their happy and warless expressions before saying, "Now my next order as Hokage will be to reveal Naruto's true heritage to the village and the other nations." Naruto's expression turned from one of utter bliss to one of worried confusion, while Sakura's simply turned questioningly as she looked from Naruto to Kakashi and eventually settled on the Hokage. "Gomen Hokage-sama," Sakura weakly spoke up. "What heritage? What are you talking about?" "Sakura," Kakashi started, but was interrupted as Naruto acknowledged for everyone in the council chamber to hear. "Sakura-chan, what Kakashi-sensei, I mean Hokage-sama means is that he is going to reveal the identities of my parents." "What? But that's great, Naruto," Sakura said and turned towards her blonde teammate. "Why are you so dejected? Wait, why was there a need for the secrecy from begin with?" "My mother's name was Uzumaki Kushina," Naruto muttered and looked at his feet, not giving Kakashi a chance to explain it for him. "My father's name, he was called Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage." "Why, your father was the Yondaime Hokage?" Sakura blabbered in shock, repeating the question in her mind. "Yeah," Naruto muttered, depressed. "Sorry I didn't tell you sooner." Sakura suddenly blinked as if she was slapped in the face and frowned. "Why are you sorry?" "Naruto, that's great. You finally know the identities of your parents and your dad, he was the Hokage. I can't believe I am saying this, but I actually envy you a little." "Envy me? Envy me?" Naruto suddenly growled. "Do you even know how it is to grow up not knowing the identities of your parents? Living in self-doubt because everyone rejects you, except a single old man and a few bodyguards that aren't even allowed to talk to you." I am sorry, Naruto, I didn't. "No, of course you didn't think. You hardly ever do when it comes to me." Naruto mumbled the last part under his breath and exhaled loudly. He looked up and his dejected expression turned cheerful again and he smiled. "But it's okay. I had a chance to talk to my father and he explained everything to me. I know why he did what he had to do." "Good." Kakashi interrupted any further conversation between his two former students. For a second there Kakashi's heart had stopped beating when Naruto's voice and expression had darkened after Sakura had thoughtlessly spoken her opinion. Kakashi had briefly looked towards Tsunade, but the aged woman wore a stoned expression. Eyes settled on her two children as there was no better way to describe her relationship with Naruto and Sakura other than a mother looking after her two kids, and yet her face didn't reveal any emotion. "I am sorry, Naruto, but we believe it is time that your heritage is revealed to the world. If you may wish so, you may adopt your father's name and you are entitled to the few possessions that your parents left behind. These scrolls here contain their wills and your father's techniques." Kakashi said and motioned for Naruto to step closer so he could hand over the 3 scrolls that were tied together by the gold robe. "Naruto, I am sorry," Sakura whispered to him as he returned to standing next to her. "I really was tactless. Please forgive me." "Sakura-chan, it's alright. Now pay attention, I don't think it's over yet." Ba-chan is too tense and Kakashi isn't acting like his usual self either. Naruto whispered back and offered Sakura one of his genuine smiles that told her that nothing had changed between them. "Please pay a little more attention, you two." Kakashi addressed them. He wanted to sigh and run away and bury his head in one of his Ika Ika books, but he knew it was time to literally drop the bomb on them. Naruto, Sakura, what I have to say next is, I'm truly sorry. No. He raised his hand to silence them and smiled weakly. That wasn't what I needed to tell you, but me and everyone else here are very sorry for what I have to tell you too. Kakashi saw the confused expressions on both of his students and he swallowed, thinking it would be best to blurt it out and wait for the explosion of Sakura's temper that was bound to happen. We have decided to reject Kumogakure's offer of a joint marriage between the Raikage and you, Haruno Sakura. Whoop, that's great. Naruto bellowed and bounced on his feet and turned to Sakura. Nay, Sakura-chan, you don't have to marry that testosterone-filled ape of a cage. You get to stay here in Konoha with your friends and family, and with me. Sakura's expression visibly lightened and Kakashi could tell a giant stone had fallen off her shoulders, but he only regretted it more now. Kakashi hammered his gavel on his table. Naruto, would you please calm down? I am not finished yet. Sorry, Hokage-sama. Naruto grinned sheepishly, to which Sakura rolled her eyes and muttered, idiot. As I was saying, Kakashi continued. We of the council have unanimously decided that we will reject the Raikage's proposal, but in order to do so, we are forced to take desperate measures. What does that mean, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked, ignoring the fact that he was supposed to be quiet. Naruto, shut up. He'll tell us if you would just stop and not interrupt him all the time. Sakura growled. Thank you, Sakura. Kakashi said and wondered why this was taking so long. In order to let Kumo and the Raikage keep their faces and in order to ensure Konoha isn't open for retribution, the council and I have decided that the only possible way to reject the Raikage's marriage offer is for Haruno Sakura to marry someone from Konoha. Kakashi waited, expecting Naruto and Sakura to explode in their own ways, one arguing it wouldn't be fair towards Sakura to just force her to marry someone from Konoha, while the other would explode regardless, but ironically both seemed in a shocked state, so Kakashi decided to use this to his advantage. And with the help of the Godime Hokage and her research, we have decided upon Haruno Sakura's husband to be Uzumaki Naruto. This choice was made because Tsunade's research suggests an 80% probability of a new bloodline being born, if these two people were to be married and produce offspring. Therefore, effective immediately, Haruno Sakura will be married to Uzumaki Naruto, and as their first mission as Junin of the Leaf, they are ordered produce a suitable heir within a year for the newly commissioned Namikaze clan. A pall of silence hung in the council chamber as every pair of eyes stared fearfully at the two people in the center. Kakashi swallowed, trying to get the feeling of doom past his throat as he watched his two ex-students. Naruto's expression was somewhat priceless, if not downright comical, as the blonde stood frozen in place, his mouth opening and closing like a carp trying to breathe air. Sakura, however, gave Kakashi the hives. The pinkett stood silently next to her blonde companion with her head hung low so that her bangs were hiding her face from his sight. The only shows of emotions that Sakura portrayed were the tightly clenched fists as they hung limply at her sides. After several seconds of pure silence in which a pin drop could have been heard, quiet murmurs broke out between a select few councilmen, and Kakashi's trained eye instantly picked up Sakura's minute trembling. The shit is about to hit the fan. He thought and started an inner monologue with himself, trying to think up satisfying answers that would calm down the raging kunoichi. What research? Sakura softly hissed with her head still lowered and her fists trembling minutely. And when nobody answered, her head suddenly snapped up and her normally peaceful, warm, jaded eyes were ice cold and an inner inferno blazed within them. I asked what kind of research. She spat and her voice shattered the illusion of her quietly accepting their terms. Who the hell do you think you are? What gives you the right to perform tests on my blood, on my genes? Who ordered that these tests be conducted? She growled and her cold eyes darted from person to person inside the room only to rest on the one person she thought could never betray her. Tsunade sat quietly in her chair, expressionless, unmoving, and unfazed at Sakura's killing intent as it flooded the room and honed in on her. Her honey brown eyes met Sakura's green and Tsunade's lips slowly parted, and without a hint of regret or shame, the busty former Hokage said, "I did. I ordered a bloodline research to be done on yours and Naruto's blood." When Sakura growled and took a threatening step closer as her fists violently shook at her sides as Sakura fought for control. "Years ago," Tsunade responded and didn't move a muscle. "Years ago," Sakura repeated in a hush, and her eyes widened in realization, only to narrow to angered slits, as she angrily accused. "You've planned this all this time," Sakura growled in accusation and was another 2 steps closer towards the Godime Hokage. "Sakura," Naruto suddenly spoke up in fear of what Sakura might do. He had purposefully left away his usual honorific in hopes of catching her attention quicker, while not drawing her wrath. He did, however, make a fatal mistake when he placed one of his hands on her shoulder to stop her from advancing. Sakura's right arm suddenly shot up and slammed into Naruto, propelling the blonde young man into the wall. Naruto hit the wall head first, and the sickening sound of something breaking echoed through the room, and Sakura never spared him a glance. Her only response to him was a simple and angry, "Not now, Naruto." Kakashi's eyes widened slightly in fear as he heard the sound of bone break, and he thought Naruto's spine had shattered from the impact. As he watched the crumpled form of Naruto slide down to the ground, a smear of blood on the wooden wall showing Naruto's descent to the floor, where he lay crumbled in a heap, seemingly unconscious. "What do you want me to say, Sakura? Do you want me to say that I am sorry? Tough luck, I won't. Do you really think your little display of strength and killing intent is going to scare me? Me?" Tsunade's voice suddenly rose in anger, and for the first time since this meeting had started, Tsunade showed her emotions, as she carried on. "You intolerant, ignorant, foolish and idiotic little girl think you can scare me. I am the Godime Hokage, I am the last surviving Densetsu no Sannin, and you really believe I am afraid of you? Grow up, Sakura. Grow up and open your eyes. The world around you isn't tinged in pretty pink, there are no shining knights in armor that will come and sweep you off your feet. The world around you is a dark, miserable place where nothing is given for free and everything comes at a price." "Tsunade," Kakashi interjected carefully, wondering why the blonde woman was antagonizing Sakura. And all of a sudden Kakashi felt Sakura's killing intent on him, and his eyes went from Tsunade towards his former pupil. He sighed while thinking. "Good going, Kakashi. Now her attention is on you." "Why?" Sakura growled, and Kakashi thought he could see tears brimming at the corners of her eyes. "Why would you support this? You of all people know exactly what he contains and how dangerous he is. Why would you do this after you know what happened to me?" "Mind if I ask you a question first?" Kakashi asked diplomatically, and decided to ask regardless without waiting for Sakura to answer. "When you first found out about the Kyuubi being sealed within Naruto, what did you think? How did you feel about it? And more importantly, how did you feel about Naruto?" "That's not what I meant," Sakura spat at him in fury. "You know that Naruto attacked me that day and that the Kyuubi's energy hurt me. It took days for the bleeding to stop and weeks for me to use my arm properly again. You know how afraid I became of Naruto after that day." "Quit lying to yourself, Sakura," Tsunade barked in anger. "Yes, you were afraid of Naruto. You were afraid that he would lose control over the Kyuubi again, but you were never afraid that he would hurt you again. You were afraid of yourself, afraid to accept that you fell in love with a friend, a teammate." "A monster," Sakura spat regretfully. "Wah! What did you say?" Tsunade asked, wide-eyed in shock at what she just heard. "Yes, a monster," Sakura shouted, and tears suddenly fell freely as she ranted on. "Yes, I was terrified. I finally realized why he was hated by the village, why he was called a demon, and why he clung to me and Sasuke-kun. We were the only people that ever acknowledged him, we were his hold on to his humanity, but by clinging to us, he dragged us down with him. He dragged me down so deep that I was willing to love a monster, willing to become one if needed." I was willing to give up my own humanity for his sake in order to be happy and answer the craving of my own need for recognition in his eyes. Am I not entitled to be terrified of him when one day you suddenly wake up and realize that there isn't a way back to the light? That the only way to ever become happy was to live life as an outcast, to live in the darkness, avoided by society as if you are an infectious disease. And has anything changed since that day? Tsunade asked, her expression growing icy stone cold towards her apprentice. Sakura chuckled as if she'd gone insane and attempted to wipe the tears out of her face. Nothing has changed and everything has changed. The nothing being that yes, I do love the baka. And the everything being that you two and this damn council have taken away my freedom of choice to decide if I want to be with him and has now condemned me to a life with a monster. Yeah, we heard you the first time, Sakura. Naruto's voice rang out in the most malevolent tone anyone who knew him had ever heard him use. Naruto. Sakura cried out as she spun around to face the subject of her rant, someone she had thought was unconscious. Yes, Sakura. Naruto, or I guess I should go by your new affectionate term for me, monster. Sakura winced at the icy tone in Naruto's voice and noted that for the first time ever Naruto had not addressed her with the suffix chan attached to her name, as the pink-haired woman stammered. I'm sorry, Naruto, I didn't mean. What, Sakura? Didn't mean to call me a monster, or didn't mean for me to hear it? Because I have a feeling it's the latter that you're sorry for. Sakura's throat felt dry and tightened, as she struggled to say something but to no avail, when Naruto spoke once more, the hurt, pain, and anger ringing in his voice. All these years, Sakura, all these years you've been lying to me. I guess I really am the baka you always call me. All of these years have wasted on you when you're just like everyone else in the village. You've hated me all along because of the Kyuubi. Even though I always wanted something more, I at least thought we were friends. But I guess that was a lie, huh? Tell me, Sakura, why lie to me all these years? Was it to make sure I kept my promise to bring back your precious Sasuke-kun, or did you just enjoy seeing me playing the fool for any of your wishes? Naruto, you're wrong. Please listen to me, listen to everything that I have to say. Sasuke-kun, I don't care about him anymore, I swear, Naruto-kun. Don't you ever call me that, Sakura. Don't you ever. You have no right after what I just heard. Naruto shouts out in an enraged tone that makes Sakura want to cry, as he continued on. All the pain and suffering I've endured for you just so you can be happy. Kami, what a fool I am to think that one day you might love me like I love you. But didn't you hear me, Naruto-kun? I do love you. What the hell did I just tell you about calling me that? Even if what you say is true, which I doubt, I don't want you anymore. I mean, look at what your supposed love for me has done to you. You're terrified of me and you hate yourself for loving me. You don't want me. You don't love me. Naruto gave a mirthless chuckle before responding in a morose tone of voice. Why would I want a girl who is scared to be in my very presence and one who is absolutely petrified of what other people will think of her for being with a monster like me? And do you want to know what's saddest of all? Even though I now know how you truly think and feel about me, I still love you, Sakura, but what's the point? Marry me or marry the wreckage, I just don't care anymore. Naruto, I hate to remind you, but you aren't being given a choice on this matter. You and Sakura will be getting married today for the good of the village, and that's final, Kakashi informed his former pupil. Fine, Hokage-sama. What's one more sacrifice I need to make for this village that has treated me oh so well in my life? Naruto spat with disgust, before walking over to affix his name on the marriage document before adding. But it will only be a marriage in name only. No, Naruto, you and Sakura must produce an heir within a year. Ba-chan can use artificial insemination to get that task accomplished, Hokage-sama. Which I'm sure takes a load off of Sakura's mind. At least doing it that way means she won't have to dirty herself by sleeping with a fiend like me. Just as Naruto was about to sign the document, he stopped and walked over to where he had been laying earlier and dipped the pen into some of his blood that had pooled on the floor and then signed the contract, shocking everyone in the chamber by his action. Tossing the piece of paper back to Kakashi, he stated without regret. What, Hokage-sama? Signing this in my own blood seems fitting for this occasion. I mean, after all, this marriage is being forced for no other reason than the creation of a new bloodline for this village. And what romanticism in knowing that the marriage was sealed in my own blood courtesy of my future wife. Sakura, who had been frozen to the spot where she was standing ever since Naruto stated he didn't want her anymore, suddenly snapped out of her stupor upon hearing Naruto's final words. Looking over to him with tears in her eyes, Naruto could only level a cold glare at the girl before turning on his heels and leaving the council chamber. Tsunade jumped from her chair and called out while rushing to get to him. She only stopped when she heard Sakura tearfully call out, "Tsunade Shisho." Turning around, the aged blonde Godime walked over to her former apprentice and slapped her across the face before shouting with rage. I am disappointed in you, Sakura. I thought better of you than this. What is your problem? Sakura looked at her with a stunned expression on her face. If you still fear Naruto, use it to get stronger. If you still love him, use it to control your fear. And when the day comes that you no longer fear the demon inside of him, you will realize that you never were in the dark. You were always in the light, Sakura, because you were and still are Naruto's only light. You have a power over him that many in this room wished they had. With a simple word or a warning glance, you can control one of the strongest shinobi this village and this world has ever seen, and if you wanted, he'd go as far as kill for you. Even more, he would also die for you if it meant that you would live. Tell me something, Sakura, what more do you want from a man who is willing to do all of that just for you? Sakura stammered but fell quiet as she didn't know how to respond. All the young girl could do was walk over and sign the marriage contract, before silently following Naruto's suit and exiting the council chamber. Everyone in the council chamber seemed to exhale a sigh of relief. While all the clan heirs looked around at one another, shocked and dismayed by what they just witnessed from their friends and classmates. They were broken out of their musings by Kakashi banging his gavel down and announcing, I wouldn't get too comfortable just yet, honored council. While this marriage solves the initial problem the Raikage presented to us, it also causes another major catastrophe for the Leaf Village. What is it, Hokage-sama? A civilian councilman asked. Apparently the Raikage was fearful that we would reject his marriage proposal for Sakura and him to wed. So, he put a stipulation. No, that's not right, more of a demand that if we were to reject his original proposal, then another specific kunoichi of the Leaf Village was to take Sakura's place at the altar. The Raikage also has made it clear that the Leaf Village would suffer dire consequences should we also reject him of claiming this girl for his bride. Which kunoichi does the Raikage want, Hokage-sama? I'm sorry, Lord Hyuga, but the Raikage is demanding it be your daughter Hyuga Hinata. What? This is an outrage, Hiashi shouted with fury, as he bolted up from his council seat and slammed his hands down onto his desk, his Byakugan flaring for everyone to see. Lord Hyuga, please calm down and control yourself. No, Hokage-sama, I will not sit idly by while you plan to hand my daughter over to the Lightning Country. Hinata will not be used as breeding stock to that bloated ape of a Raikage, and Kami knows who else. My family has suffered much over the years because of that infernal nation, and we will suffer no more. What would you have us do, Hyuga? Risk war with Kumogakure and the Lightning Country just for the virtue of your daughter? One of the civilian councilmen shouted before collapsing under the sheer force of the killing intent Hiashi directed at him. Lord Hyuga, I've said nothing about handing Hinata over to the Raikage. I brought up the matter because we need to discuss the situation. Please release the councilman from your intent before you kill him. He's not a shinobi and will not last very long under such pressure. Very well, Hokage-sama, Hiashi replied, as he turned away from the councilman, quaking and sweating profusely in a heap on the council chamber floor before adding with malevolence, as he glared at the rest of the civilian council. But know this, If any of you civilian pigs even dare equate my daughter's virtue as to why I will not allow this happen, you're sadly mistaken. Kumogakure has been after bloodline traits for its shinobi for years. Hence their attempt to kidnap my daughter years ago, which failed. I've already had to sacrifice my beloved brother to appease that village and keep Konoha out of war. I will be damned if I will now sacrifice my daughter to do the same again. Or perhaps you fools relish the idea of a small army of Kumo shinobi with Hyuga powers attacking the Leaf Village and your great-grandchildren in say 100 years. You make a valid point, Lord Hyuga, which is why all of us need to sit down and figure out a way to deal with this Kumo situation. We were able to find a unique alternative to stop the betrothal of Sakura to the Raikage. Perhaps we can discover another unique way to solve this problem as well. Kakashi stated, while staring directly at Hiashi before his lone flickered a brief moment towards Tsunade's direction. This action did not go unnoticed by Hiashi, who understood what the Hokage subtlety was trying to convey to the Hyuga clan head, who announced. Why do we need to find another solution, Hokage-sama? Lady Tsunade, you say you ordered as the Godime Hokage a bloodline research to be conducted on both Haruno Sakura and Namikaze Naruto years ago, is that correct? Tsunade's face took on a startled look as she realized where this question was leading and through gritted teeth replied. Hi Hiashi, I did. Well then, could you please tell us if you also ordered a bloodline research to be conducted on anyone else during that time? Tsunade sat silent and unmoving, but was seething on the inside at being maneuvered into this position by the Hyuga patriarch and the current Hokage, to whom she shot a quick glare at before answering. Hi Hiashi, I did order one more bloodline research to be conducted on one other kunoichi with regards to Naruto. Who would this other person be, Lady Tsunade? Your eldest daughter, Lord Hyuga. Hinata. A murmur went through the entire council chamber, as many of its members now recognized where Hiashi was going. And what did the research discover, Tsunade-sama? Kakashi asked, as he sighed wearily at this not unexpected revelation. The research showed an even greater potential that if Naruto and Hinata were to have children, there would be a 100% chance for their offspring to have the Byakugan, and very high percentage their Byakugan would be enhanced into an all-new Kekkei Genkei. Tsunade announced, and the council immediately started a flurry of conversation with one another. Kakashi looked over to Tsunade and was about to ask when she held up her hand to stop him and stated. Before you ask, Hokage-sama, yes, I'm certain of the results. Then, as Danzo declared earlier with regards to Haruno Sakura, I would say this solves all of our problems. Hiashi announced before adding, just as Danzo had. Konoha gets to keep one of its most talented kunoichi it has ever seen. And as a bonus, our village will be blessed with a new bloodline that could even surpass that of my own clan. So Hokage-sama, I submit that in order to maintain our village's strength, and keep Kumo in check, my daughter must marry Namikaze Naruto as well. I suppose there is logic to that proposal, Lord Hyuga. However, I would like to know something, Lady Tsunade. I understand your reasoning behind ordering the bloodline research for Sakura, but why did you also order it for Hinata as well? Kakashi asked with curiosity. I ordered it for Hinata, Hokage-sama, because upon my return to the village to become the Godime Hokage, I learned of Hinata's love for Naruto. So I figured that the Gaki would end up one day marrying one of the girls who had fallen in love with him. I just didn't know which one it would be, Sakura or Hinata. Well, it doesn't matter now, I guess, because it looks like our favorite knucklehead is going to end up with both girls now. Kakashi comments with amusement. Hokage-sama, while I am not against this marriage proposal of Lord Hyuga's daughter with the Namikaze heir, you stated that the Raikage made it clear that the Leaf Village would suffer dire consequences should we also reject him of claiming Hyuga Hinata for his bride in place of Haruno Sakura. Are we not risking the end of the Shinobi Alliance against the Akatsuki and possibly war with Kumogakure if we follow through on this measure? Kaharu questioned with concern. I think not, Kaharu. I happen to know that the Kazekage, Mizukage, nor the Tsuchikage holds any love for the Raikage. And they all recognize the threat of the Akatsuki, so I doubt they will dissolve the alliance simply because the Raikage can't get his groove on. That may be Hokage-sama, but that doesn't ensure that they won't take sides if a war develops between Konohagakure and Kumogakure. Iwagakure may join with Kumo simply to help take revenge for what the Yondaime did to them in the last Great Shinobi War. Plus, lest we forget, Kumogakure does hold the 8-tailed Jinchuriki which they could use against us. And we have the 9-tailed Jinchuriki at our disposal should war arise. I'm sorry Kaharu-san, but Lord Hyuga is correct. We cannot pass up the opportunity to create not only one but two brand new bloodlines. We've already discussed that even if the children Haruno Sakura and the Namikaze heir wouldn't be gifted with a new bloodline, they will still create an immensely powerful clan. Imagine Konoha having ninja with the famed incredible chakra reserves of the Namikaze along with Haruno's almost godlike chakra control. Konoha would be a new force to be reckoned with. Now upon learning that perhaps an even greater bloodline could be born from the union of the Hyuga and Namikaze heirs, which has an even greater potential of surpassing the legendary Senju, Hyuga, and Uchiha clans is right there in front of us and only needs to be nurtured into the proper direction. Our chances to usher in a new era of Kekkei Genkai is within our grasp, and all that needs to be done is nurture Haruno's, Hyuga's, and the Namikaze's future into the proper direction. Yes, Hokage-sama, a union between the Namikaze heir and the Hyuga heiress is just as vital to Konoha's survival as is his union to the Haruno girl. Danzo exclaimed with all the authority he could muster. Yes, Danzo-san, I already recognize the potential gains to the Leaf Village of these unions. What concerns me is this village's losses should war arise once more between the 5 great nations, Kaharu snapped in retort. That will not happen. As I stated earlier, Iwagakure will not risk war with us for fear of what we are, more specifically what Naruto could do to their forces. Also, were they to ally themselves with Kumogakure, which I highly doubt given the amount of disdain the Tsuchikage has for the Raikage. The Tsuchikage knows that any aggression towards our country or village would bring in the Wind Country and Sunagakure to our defense, should we request it, which we will not. No, to preserve the Shinobi alliance, Suna, Iwa, and Kiri must remain neutral, if the Raikage chooses to follow through on his threat. We must keep this strictly as a dispute between the Cloud Village and the Leaf Village should that arise. Kakashi commanded, cutting off any potential arguments from Kaharu or Danzo. Very well, Hokage-sama, I've stated my concerns and that is all I can do. But what exactly is going to be the reason we present to the Raikage to why we are refusing both of his demanded marriage betrothals? Kaharu contritely asked before resuming her seat in the council chamber. Well, since Naruto is the last living legacy of the Namikaze clan, we can always present to the Raikage that as such the 2 most skilled and qualified kunoichis were selected to become his wives under the Clan Restoration Act to rebuild his clan. Those kunoichis being Haruno Sakura and Hyuga Hinata, who in fact are the 2 most skilled and qualified kunoichis we have currently available for marriage to Naruto. What about Yuhi Kurenai? She's available and definitely has a hot enough body that any man would want to get with. Maybe we could offer her for betrothal to the Raikage and that might appease him, since the 2 girls he wanted are not available. A civilian councilman declared, before he fell to his knees gasping for air, as the killing intent directed upon him from the Hokage was crushing before he heard in an icy and deadly tone of voice. Yuhi Kurenai is not available for appeasement of the Raikage. After a few more seconds of uneasy silence in the council chamber, Hiyashi spoke up and announced with fervor. I agree with Hokage-sama. It is a perfectly logical and reasonable explanation to give to the Raikage as to why he cannot have either the Haruno girl or my daughter. So, if no one else has any objections, I call for a vote of this council to approve the proposed betrothal of Namikaze Naruto to Hyuga Hinata at once, as well as initiating the CRA for Namikaze Naruto to legally have 2 wives per Konoha law to rebuild his noble clan. One by one, every civilian councilman and clan head voted to approve the proposal until it came upon the Hokage to cast his final vote. Rising from his chair and gripping his gavel, Kakashi announced with authority. Upon unanimous vote of the Konoha Council and the office of the Hokage, the measure brought forth by Hyuga Heihachi of marrying Hyuga Hinata to Namikaze Naruto and to initiate the CRA for Namikaze Naruto in order to negate the Raikage's betrothal demands and to see the births of a new potentially strong bloodlines to the Namikaze clan has been approved. Kakashi slammed down his gavel to make the proposal official before adding. It is done. Now since there are no more matters on today's docket, this council session is officially closed. Lord Hyuga, if you would please stay, I have some matters to discuss with you in regards to the necessary documents I must prepare for your daughter's marriage contract for tomorrow. After a few minutes, all the councilmen and clan leaders and heirs had exited the chambers, leaving only Heihachi, Tsunade, and Kakashi. As all three sat in silence, it was Heihachi who finally spoke up and asked. What is it you wished to discuss with me, Hokage-sama? Nothing really. I just need to know if you have any problems with me drawing up the same marriage contract for Hinata as I did for Sakura. She will need to produce an heir within a year, starting tomorrow, but as with Sakura she will be justly compensated. I have no objections to using the same marriage contract and stipulations attached to it that the Haruno girl received. To be quite frank, Hokage-sama, I could care less about the compensation. I did what I had to today to save my daughter because I love her. I've not been a very good father over the years to her, but upon hearing that she engaged in battle against pain when virtually all other shinobi were cowering in fear including myself, I felt ashamed. When she almost died at the hands of that madman, I realized I was greatly mistaken in thinking she was still a weak little girl. Hinata has become a strong, vibrant woman, and although the actions I have taken here today will prevent her from becoming the future leader of my clan, I am proud that Hinata will help to bring life into the noble Namikaze clan and that she is a valued and honored kunoichi of this village. Although it may be late in coming, I've sworn to become the father Hinata deserves. No longer will I attempt to control her life as I did in the past. Ha, Lord Hyuga. You say that, but what did you just do not 10 minutes ago in this council chamber? What did I do, Lady Tsunade? I just made my daughter the happiest woman on this planet once she finds out what I did. Heihachi replied with a smirk before strolling out of the council chambers, while looking forward to seeing the expression on his daughter's face when he would tell Hinata of her betrothal to her lifelong love. At the Yamanaka flower shop, a small group of clan heirs had gathered to discuss what they had witnessed in the Konoha Council session that afternoon. Needless to say, all of them were pretty stunned by what had been said and transpired. The fact that session's proceedings had directly involved three of their closest friends made it difficult for all of them to understand what had just happened. It was the blonde kunoichi whose name adorned the flower shop sign who finally broke the stifling silence and exclaimed in surprise. That was some council meeting today. I still can't believe it. Sakura and Naruto married, and now he also has to marry Hinata as well. Not only that, but that Naruto is actually the son of the fourth Hokage just blows my mind. Grumbled Kiba as he sniffed at several flowers, the sweet smells irritating his highly sensitive nose. Well, we always kind of suspected it. Kiba and Naruto becoming the next Hokage has pretty much been a foregone conclusion considering how strong he has become. Yeah, I know, Shikamaru, but still hearing it said and acknowledged by the council and the Hokage was still a shock. What do you think about it, Choji? What's there to say, Munch? Naruto's still my friend no matter who his parents were or what position he will obtain. Munch, I'm happy for him. The Akamichi heir stated while eating his trademark barbecue potato chips. Grr. I just can't believe Forehead Girl is the one who gets to marry the next Hokage. That girl is so damn lucky and she doesn't even realize it. Do you believe all that vile crap she spewed about Naruto today? Ino exclaimed in a sigh as her fingers played with a knife with which she normally cut the stems to shorten the flowers so they could easily fit into smaller vases. I always knew her relationship with Naruto was troublesome, but even I was thrown for a loop by what she said about how she felt about him. Sakura's reasoning as to those feelings about Naruto is very misguided and illogical, not to mention most troubling to me. Shino stated in his usual monotone voice. Well, speak of the she-devil now, look who's heading this way. Kiba remarked, while looking out the pane glass window to the flower shop to see Sakura with her head down crossing the street and walking towards the store. Nobody say a word about Hinata to her. I don't want Sakura screwing things up between Naruto and Hinata tomorrow. Kiba growled with authority. A moment later, the entrance door to the shop opened and struck a bell signifying someone coming in. Sakura looked up and was startled to see many of her friends of the Rookie 9 class staring at her intently, as she stammered nervously. Hi everyone. I was just stopping by to see if I could talk to Ino. I can see you all are in the midst of something, so I can come back later. There's no need, Sakura. The topic of our conversation was today's council meeting. You are more than welcome to participate about that subject. For I have one question I wish you to answer for me. Oh, okay Shino. Please tell me, Sakura, am I a man or an insect? What? I don't understand the question. It's quite simple, Sakura, so I'll repeat it. Am I a man or an insect? You're a man, Shino. Why do you ask? Are you sure, Sakura? I mean, I do host an entire colony of insects within my body. Why? Yes, but they're separate lifeforms from you, Shino. Yes, they are, Sakura. It is too bad you have never used that same logic when it came to your own teammate and friend. Shino stated in an icy tone, causing Sakura to wince and look sheepishly to the ground, before she heard Shino add. Come on, Kiba. We should leave lest Sakura changes her mind and decides I too am some sort of insect monster and that you are some sort of canine fiend. I hear that, Shino. We wouldn't want our monstrous presence to upset the Godime's little princess here. Both members of the former Squad 8 walked brusquely past the pink-haired Kunoichi, who kept her head down, as they exited the flower shop. As a lone tear rolled down Sakura's cheek, she looked up and asked. I suppose you all hate me too for what I said about Naruto. We don't hate you, Sakura, but we are disappointed that you would say and treat Naruto the way you did today. Choji stated after seeing nobody was looking at the pinket. To hell with that Choji, I'm downright pissed at her right now. I mean, seriously, forehead, what's your problem? You all know what my problem is, Ino pig. I spelled them all out to you at the council meeting. And I'm sorry you all are disappointed and angry with me, but it doesn't change how I feel. Sakura shot back in a defensive manner. Sakura stood silent and unmoving, waiting for someone to speak up and agree with her, or at the very least understand her position. When no one did, Sakura looked to the floor dejectedly before weakly stammering out a justification of her actions. You guys just don't understand, it's not the same thing. Naruto hurt me in the past and I've been afraid of him ever since. Bullshit, Sakura. That's a load of crap and you know it. I remember when you got hurt, and I also remember Naruto apologizing and beating himself up over it for months. What I don't remember is you ever saying to me or anyone else how scared you are of Naruto. No, what I remember is you being upset about how badly Naruto was torturing himself over it. And why you felt upset about Naruto torment forehead? It's because you love the blonde knucklehead and deep down you know it. I know the reason why you're upset about what the council did today, and it's got nothing to do with Naruto. Fine, Ino pig, you seem to have all the answers. Tell me why I'm upset about what the council did today. Sakura spat with derision. You're upset, Sakura, because you don't get to play the role of martyr that you've so dearly loved to play your whole life. What? That's right, Sakura, you've always loved to play the role of the victim your entire life. From when you were a little girl crying about your forehead to Naruto always having to save your back in your genin days, to even a few days ago when you first heard about the Raikage demanding your betrothal. You just love to be the willing or sacrificial victim. You're crazy, Ino pig. Am I? Let's think about it. What was your reaction when you first heard the news that you might have to marry the Raikage to prevent the collapse of the Shinobi Alliance? Did you get upset or throw a tantrum like you did in the council chamber today? No, you were all I don't want to marry the Raikage, but if I must to keep the alliance intact, then I must do what I have to for Konoha. Sakura couldn't find the words to say anything in defense and could only glare at her blonde-haired friend who continued on. You were Mrs. Calm and collected, ready to do your duty and willing to give up your life without hesitation for Konoha. My, what a selfless and gallant act you were about to perform, forehead. But when the Hokage and the council decide to save you from your noble sacrifice by marrying you off to one of the nicest guys in the world and your supposed friend, what do you do but freak out and hurt him in the worst way possible? Sakura felt the sting of guilt and hints of truth at Ino's words and turned her head away, but this action did nothing to stop the Yamanaka heiress from asking. Why is that, Sakura? I mean, you don't get upset at the prospect of marrying that aged, steroid-induced psychopath of a Raikage. But you do get upset at marrying the one guy who has always treated you like a queen his entire life. So, I'm left with only two possible answers. 1. You secretly are attracted to muscle-bound senile old apes. Or 2. You're pissed off because now Konoha won't erect a golden statue of you in the middle of the village, proudly proclaiming how you saved Konoha by nobly sacrificing your virtue and virginity to Kumogakure to protect us all from untold peril. Ino stated while throwing her arm across her forehead in dramatic fashion before collapsing backwards in a heap into Choji's arms for even more theatrical effect. Opening up one eye to peer at her pink-haired friend, Ino could see Sakura silent and standing, quivering in either sadness or rage. Extricating herself from Choji's arms, she walked to Sakura and looked her directly in the eyes before saying in a stern tone of voice, "Look, Sakura, I don't really know what your problem is with Naruto, and to be honest I don't think you do either. But you better figure it out, and pretty damn soon. Because there are other girls out there who already know what a kind, decent, and loving person the knucklehead can be. Not to mention he's going to be the next Hokage and is smoking hot as well. If I wasn't with Choji-kun already I'd have jumped him a long time ago. I mean, have you seen those muscled arms, his chiseled chest and his six-pack abs? I mean, Kami, it makes me want to drool just thinking about it. You do realize I'm still here, don't you, Ino? I'm sorry, Choji-kun, you know that I love you, but I'm not talking about your special qualities at the moment. Right now I'm trying to get through to this bubble-headed Kunoichi's brain and help her realize that she's about to throw away one prime hunk of man meat forever, just like you, Choji-kun, if she hasn't already done so." "Wah, what do you mean if I haven't already done so, Ino?" "I mean, Sakura, after what you said and did to Naruto in the council meeting today, you may have already lost him for good. For your sake, forehead, I hope not, because I doubt you're going to find a guy with the patience to put up with your bullshit like Naruto has his whole life." Ino's right, it's troublesome, but every person has their breaking point when it comes to someone, and I fear you may have reached that point with Naruto this afternoon. I'm not saying how you feel about Naruto is right or wrong, but you've got a lot to think about, Sakura, when it comes to him, and only you can decide that. I hope you figure it out before it's too late, Sakura, if it already isn't." Shikamaru stated with brutal honesty. "You're right, Shikamaru, I do have a lot to think about," Sakura says in a dejected tone before turning around to leave the store. As Shikamaru and his teammates watched Sakura leave the flower shop, they could only gaze upon her with pity, while she pondered everything she had just heard. Hinata was wringing her hands nervously as she approached her father's study that evening. Although her relationship with Hiashi had improved dramatically since the pain invasion, Hinata was still surprised when her father had asked her to come to his study to discuss a matter of clan importance after dinner. To be honest, the Hyuga heiress has always hated her father's study, as it held precious few positive memories for her growing up. To Hinata it was a cold, impersonal, holding chamber where her father had scolded and lectured her about her failures as the Hyuga heiress and at being a shinobi. Taking a deep breath before hesitantly knocking on the formidable oak door to the study, Hinata gulped as she heard her father bade her to enter. You wished to speak with me, Otusan. Yes, Hinata. Please wait a moment while I finish assigning the guard rotations for the clan compound this week. Hinata simply nodded and kept her head lowered while she waited for her father to finish. Neji, please make sure the lead guard receives this new rotation schedule this evening. Hiashi announced, alerting Hinata that her cousin was also present in the room as she looked up to see him. As you wish, Hiashi-sama. Now, Hinata, the reason I've asked you here is to discuss the future leadership of this clan. Hiashi declared, as Hinata returned her attention to him and answered. Hi, Otusan. After careful thought and much deliberation upon what transpired today in the Konoha Council session, I've decided you will not assume the mantle of clan leader upon my retirement. I see, father. Hinata solemnly replied, as she thought to herself. Nothing has changed, he still considers me weak and unfit to lead the clan. I was foolish to think otherwise. I have decided that upon my retirement your younger sister Hanabi will assume the mantle of clan leader. However, I want you to understand that this decision was not based upon any inability on your part to become clan leader. I firmly believe you would have made an excellent leader for the future of the Hyuga clan. However, certain events were brought forth to my attention today in the Konoha Council which forced me to make this decision, as you have an even greater destiny than clan leader, my daughter. Greater destiny? I don't understand, father. Hinata asked with confusion, as she had been instructed since she was old enough to understand that her destiny was to lead the Hyuga clan. Yes, Hinata, a greater destiny. For you see, it was revealed today in the council and shall be announced to the village tomorrow that the last legacy of the Namikaze clan lives. As such, seeing as he is the only living member of that noble clan which produced our esteemed fourth Hokage, the Yondaime. The council in its wisdom has seen fit to enact the Clan Restoration Act for the young man. And with my honor and blessing, I have arranged with the Hokage for you, my daughter, to become one of the 2 wives this young man will take to help restore the Namikaze clan to its former glory. Me, father? Hinata asked in a panic-stricken voice while thinking. I don't want to marry some strange man just because he comes from some important clan of the past. I love Naruto-kun and I want to be his wife and only his wife. Hinata, you seem distressed upon hearing this news. I would think you would be happy. It is a great honor to be chosen as one of the matriarchs to help rebuild this clan. If you are worried that your standard of life will decrease, I can assure you that the Hokage has established a sizable monetary compensation for you as reward for your acceptance of this proposed marriage and for any heirs which you produce from it. No, father, I wasn't worried about any monetary compensation, and I'm sure it is an honor to be chosen as a matriarch to help rebuild the Namikaze clan. I just had hoped to be able to marry someone else, Hiashi asked, interrupting his stammering daughter. Yes, father. Hinata meekly replied. Well, this does change some things. I don't wish to force you into doing something you have no desire for, Hinata. Are you sure you don't wish to at least consider this proposed marriage to this man? I'm sorry, father, but my heart does belong to another. Very well, if that is your decision, so be it. Hiashi grimly pronounced, before pushing a button on his desk. A few moments later, a branch member arrived at the study to which Hiashi ordered. See to it that this document is returned to the Hokage first thing in the morning. Also inform the Hokage our clan's deepest apologies that Hinata Hyuga has declined her proposed betrothal to Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto Namikaze. Also please ask the Hokage to convey to the Uzumaki heir, the Namikaze heir, that we hope he bears no ill will towards our clan for my daughter's refusal of marriage to him. I shall see to it at once, Hiashi-sama. As Hiashi handed the proposed marriage contract over to the branch member for delivery, a scant second later he heard a garbled cry and then a hard thump hitting the floor. Looking up from his desk, The Hyuga patriarch saw the branch member crumpled unconscious in a heap on the floor with Hinata standing over him frantically examining the document the young man was supposed to deliver. After a moment Hinata looked to her father wide-eyed and in a daze, her mouth open trying to speak, when Hiyashi said, "Yes Hinata, it's true. Am I to understand you've had second thoughts about not marrying Naruto Namikaze? Because if you have, I've already signed off on the proposed marriage as you can see, and you have my full support and blessing to marry the young man if you want to." "I want to, father," Hinata exclaimed, before her eyes rolled to the back of her head and she fainted, as her mind overloaded at the thoughts of being Naruto's wife. Both Hiyashi and Neji watched Hinata fall to the floor clutching the marriage contract in her hands. Both men could only shake their heads in amusement before Hiyashi ordered his nephew to carry Hinata to her bedroom and to leave the contract with her. As Hiyashi watched Neji pick Hinata off the ground, a small tear rolled down his cheek, as the smile adorning his daughter's face was priceless. And this made the aged Hyuga leader feel a sense of joy at being able to grant Hinata's fondest wish and to give to her the happy life he had denied her for so long growing up. As Naruto stormed his way to Hokage Tower, the rage he felt within him seemed to grow with each step that he took. He was still upset about what had happened with Sakura at the council session the day before and thought it had been one of the worst days of his life. But today's events had made yesterday seem tame by comparison. The news of Naruto's true heritage as the living legacy of the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze had been announced that morning, and it had turned his life upside down in the village. Now the very same people in the village, who used to shun him in the past, were now going out of their way to heap praise and kindness upon him merely for the fact of who his father was. Even worse than the behavior these pathetic hypocrites of villagers was the attitude that his friends were now showing him, as his thoughts recounted an earlier memory of his morning trip to Ichiraku Ramen. Flashback. When Naruto finally arrived at his favorite restaurant, the sight that greeted him was astonishing. There were literally hundreds of villagers milling around the stand, all waiting to place an order with the ramen vendor. Naruto could see that Tsuki and Ayame were working at a frantic pace to fill all the orders they were given. Suddenly, one of the villagers noticed Naruto and shouted out, effectively breaking Naruto out of his stupor. "Hey everyone, look, the Yondaime's son is here." Before Naruto knew what was happening, the entire crowd suddenly flocked around him, surrounding the bewildered young man. Naruto grew uneasy at this, as unpleasant memories of when villagers surrounded him in his youth flooded his mind. This is why it was a complete shock to him when everyone clamored around him to give compliments or just to touch him. Even some of the girls who used to look upon him with disdain were now calling out to him with date and even marriage proposals. Naruto in a panic was about to flee the scene when he noticed Ayame signaled to him to go around to the back of the restaurant. Flashing through a quick series of hand signs, Naruto disappeared in a swirl of leaves only to re-emerge moments later in the back alley behind Ichiraku's. A few seconds later, Ayame came out the back door and enveloped Naruto in a bone-crushing hug as Naruto stammered. "Wah! What's going on around here, Ayame-chan? Oh Naruto-kun, it's wonderful. Since the Hokage and the council announced you were the son of the fourth Hokage earlier today, people have been beating down our door to eat the food of your favorite restaurant. We've already made more money today than we had in the last 6 months, and it's all thanks to you." "Well, I'm happy for you and the old man, Ayame-chan." Naruto hesitantly replied, not really sure how he should respond. A moment later, a grinning Tsuki Ichiraku came out carrying a large takeout bag full of ramen dishes and thrust the bag into Naruto's hands while bowing and saying in gratitude, "Here you go Naruto-sama, I cooked all your favorite ramen dishes for you to enjoy." "Sama," Naruto thought to himself in confusion, as he looked inside the bag before saying, Thanks old man, I appreciate it, but this more food than I was going to order and I don't have enough money to pay for all of it. It's on the house Naruto-sama. I wouldn't dream of taking money from you, not after all the business you've brought to us. It's the least I can do for the living legacy of Minato Namikaze." Naruto's face became crestfallen upon hearing Tsuki's proclamation before mumbling his thanks and turning to walk away. Both Tsuki and Ayame noticed the somber expression Naruto's face had taken and the subdued way he walked away from them, before Tsuki called out with concern, fearing they had insulted the boy in some way. Naruto-sama, you seem upset. Did we do something to displease you? Naruto turned around and gave his trademark smile, the one he always showed when he was hurting inside, and solemnly said, "No, you didn't do anything, old man. I guess I just liked it better when you guys liked me as plain old Naruto Uzumaki and not just as the last living legacy of the fourth. You two had better hurry back inside, you've got a lot of hungry customers waiting for you. I'm glad your business is doing so well for you now, and thanks again for the ramen." Before Tsuki and Ayame could respond, Naruto leapt away to the rooftops, leaving behind his two long-standing precious people, who both felt very sad and guilty at their behavior towards the young blonde shinobi. End of flashback. Naruto-sama, even my friends are treating me like royalty now that the truth of who my father was is out. Now I understand what the Tem went through growing up. Being praised and complimented for nothing more than whom he came from rather than who he is. Naruto bitterly thought with disgust as he reached Hokage Tower. A short time later, Naruto threw open the doors to the Hokage's office and stomped inside. Both Kakashi and Tsunade could feel the slight killing intent emanating off of his body, as he strode forth to stand in front of his former sensei and growled out. "What service do I need to provide today, Kakashi-sensei? I mean Hokage-sama." Kakashi could only sigh, as he could tell Naruto was still upset about the events that had transpired in the last 24 hours. Looking towards his former student, he silently wondered what Naruto's reaction would be to the latest bombshell he would deliver to uproot the boy's life. However, as much as he hated it, Kakashi knew it was the only way to save Hinata and hoped Naruto would understand about that. Clearing his throat to gain everyone's attention, he tried to speak in an upbeat tone of voice. "Thanks for coming, Naruto. There's some matters I need to discuss with you that will affect your marriage to Sakura." "What's there to discuss, Hokage-sama? I'm married to Sakura and that's that. If it's about producing an heir with her, just have Ba-chan schedule a time for me to go over to the hospital to dump off a couple of my little soldiers and we'll be done with it." "Naruto, I'm sure there's a little more to it than that. I don't know what else that could be, Hokage-sama. Just loan me one of Ero Sennin's books, and so long as it doesn't have any pink-haired heroines in it, I should be able to knock out plenty of baby-making juice for Haruno-san to use." "Naruto." Tsunade mumbled under her breath, saddened at Naruto's attitude towards her former apprentice. "Ahem, alright, we'll table the discussion about your heir another time. That's not the reason I called you here today. After you had left the council meeting yesterday, Naruto, you were not present to hear about a secondary demand of the Raikage should Konoha refuse his betrothal to Sakura. What is this second demand, Hokage-sama?" Well, you see, Naruto, the Raikage was fearful that we would reject his marriage proposal for Sakura and him to wed. So, he put in a demand that if we were to reject his original proposal, then another specific kunoichi of the Leaf Village was to take Sakura's place at the altar. The Raikage also has made it clear that the Leaf Village would suffer dire consequences should we also reject him of claiming this other girl for his bride. What? That's not right. You mean that bastard is going to threaten Konoha if we don't let him marry another kunoichi from the village? That's correct, Naruto. Well, what are you going to do about it? What we are doing about it has already been done, Naruto. I have enacted with the council's approval the CRA or Clan Restoration Act for the girl to marry a shinobi of a recently restored clan here in the Leaf Village and help rebuild his clan, thus negating the Raikage's betrothal demands. Well, that's a relief for her, but it still doesn't explain why I'm here. Sai, you're here, Naruto, because you are that shinobi of a recently restored clan that she will help to rebuild. Kakashi stated with aplomb, as he waited for the gears in Naruto's brain to slowly grind away before grasping what the silver-haired Hokage had just said. After a minute, Naruto's eyes grew wide and Kakashi could only close his eyes while waiting for the inevitable explosion. No, no, no. I swear I'm not about to ruin some other girl's life by forcing her to marry me. Naruto, you're not forcing her into marriage. This kunoichi was given a voluntary choice whether or not to marry you or the Raikage, and she chose you. Even if that's the case, which I doubt, I can't marry another girl. I'm already married to Sakura-san. That's why we reenacted the CRA Naruto, to make it legal for you to be married to more than one girl. It also legally denies the Raikage from filing any type of protest to our actions, which will be fully recognized by the other 3 great elemental countries. So the only reason I'm marrying this girl is to keep her out of the clutches of the Raikage. That's partially correct, Naruto. What other reasons am I marrying this girl for, Hokage-sama? Well, you're marrying this other girl, Naruto, because I had run some bloodline research on her and the results showed an even greater potential that were the 2 of you to have children, there would be a very high percentage that your offspring would unlock a new bloodline trait. Tsunade finally snapped, having grown weary of Kakashi's hesitancy. So, just like Sakura, this marriage is being forced for no other reason than the creation of a new bloodline for this village. Well, I see you and those council bastards have thought of everything and screwed my life over once again. And now you've ruined another girl's life by forcing her to marry me just to gain another precious bloodline for this village. No, Naruto, that's not the only reason for the marriage. And I've already told you no one is forcing this girl to marry you. In fact, she's more than happy and willing to do so and has sacrificed much in the process to do so. You have no idea, but with this particular girl you are probably saving her from a fate far worse than death. Yeah, right. So who is this noble girl happily willing to sacrifice her life just to be married to me? Naruto spat with sarcasm. A moment later, as if on cue, there was a knock on the Hokage's door. Upon Kakashi's command to enter, the door opened up to reveal a young male wearing a flowing robe-like shirt and pants. The man stepped aside to let the young girl he was escorted enter the office first. She was dressed in a form-fitting short-sleeved kimono with a wide sash wrapped around her waist. However, the most distinctive features of the 2 youths was not their clothing attire, but their eyes, which seemed pupil-less. But in truth, both the iris and pupil were barely discernible, with the male's appearing a milky white in color, while the young female held a rather beautiful shade of lavender in her eyes. As they both bowed to the Hokage in reverence of his position, the young male spoke up and said, "Hokage-sama, Lord Hyuga gives his apologies. He was unavoidably detained with the Hyuga elders and will join us later to finalize the paperwork for Hinata's betrothal. However, he has already apprised me of the entire matter and sent me in his stead to act as witness to her betrothal to the Namikaze heir." "Why, you Hinata, it's you that I'm supposed to marry." Naruto stammered in disbelief. "Hi Naruto-kun, Ashikarazu, I'm sorry, I mean Naruto-sama." Hinata replied while trying desperately to remain dignified and confer to her husband the respect she had been taught her whole life to give to him. Again with the sama. Naruto angrily thought to himself before he heard Hinata continue on. "Naruto-sama, I am most honored that I have been chosen to become your wife and to help you rebuild your noble clan for the future of the village. I am very happy to accept the proud name of Namikaze and—" "Stop it, Hinata. I hate people who lie to themselves." I'm lying to myself." Hinata stammered in confusion. "Of course you are. Back when I was just plain old Naruto Uzumaki, a princess like you never would have even considered me as a husband. But now that I'm revealed to be the Yondaime's son, now all of the sudden I'm good enough for you. But I never thought." Hinata stammered, as tears began to well in her eyes before Naruto continued on. "I never would have thought, Hinata, that you would be someone as shallow and superficial as to pretend to care about someone just because of their title or heritage, but I guess I was wrong. Maybe your clan pressured you into this marriage, I don't know. I'll marry you to keep you safe from the Raikage because I do consider you one of my friends. But don't stand there and lie to yourself and me about being happy and honored to become my wife. When we both know you're probably as disgusted with the thought as Sakura is. I only hope that in the future you can. The room held a pall of eerie silence to it, as everyone was shocked by what Naruto was saying before a resounding smack was heard interrupting him, and everyone looked up to see Hinata standing in front of Naruto with tears running down her face. Naruto's head was turned to the side after obviously being the recipient of the blow from the Hyuga girl when they heard Hinata say, "Don't do me any favors, Naruto. Since you believe I'm being dishonest with you, I shall go ahead and sacrifice my dignity along with my life and marry the Raikage to save the village." "Hinata, you can't!" Neji exclaimed. Hinata did not reply, but instead turned and ran out of the room, trying frantically to escape from everyone while her heart was breaking into a million pieces. Naruto turned his head back to where Hinata had been standing, as the pink handprint was already fading from his face. Holding his hand to his cheek, he was stunned that Hinata had actually hit him. So surprised at this occurrence, he failed to notice the fist heading towards him, before it impacted his jaw and knocked him off his feet onto the floor. Before Naruto could shake the cobwebs out of his head, he felt his shirt being grabbed and was pulled upwards to stare into the seething face of Neji. The amount of killing intent rolling off of the Hyuga male was stifling to Naruto when he heard him shout with malevolence. "Naruto, you are a thick-headed idiot. How dare you say such things to Hinata?" Before Naruto could reply, Neji yanked the blonde Jinchuriki up and slammed him back first into a wall while continuing his death grip on the shirt before saying with rage, "Allow me to clear up some misconceptions you seem to have, Baka. First off, Hinata never has in her entire life been shallow and superficial as to pretend to care about someone just because of their title or heritage. If that were true, you and she would never have become friends because she caught hell from the Hyuga clan elders and her own father her entire life growing up by associating with you. Secondly, Hinata was not lying to herself or you when she was happy and honored to become your wife. She is absolutely thrilled with the idea of being your wife and willingly chose to give up her role as the future Hyuga clan leader just for the privilege of being married to you. And if you're wondering why she did this, it's because she loves you, idiot, and has for the longest time. She doesn't give a damn whether your last name is Namikaze or Uzumaki, just the thought of sharing her life with you was enough for her. And after what I just witnessed, you did get one thing sort of right in your moronic rant to her. As far as I'm concerned, whether you're an Uzumaki or a Namikaze, you're not good enough for Hinata. She loves me. Yes, she loves you, although as to why is beyond me, as it defies any common sense or logic. I can't believe you had the gall to act as though you were doing Hinata a favor by marrying her. Because let me explain what you have just done by hurting Hinata and sending her into the vicious arms of the Raikage and Kumogakure. Do you remember the story I told you during the Genin exams about the hatred I once felt for the main branch of the Hyuga clan and the reasons behind it? Yeah, Neji, it had something to do with your father being killed. But do you remember the reasons behind my father's death? No, not everything. Well then, allow me to refresh your memory. At the end of the Third Great Shinobi War, representatives from the Lightning Country had come to Konoha to sign a peace accord. However, this was merely a ruse by them to get into the Leaf Village and abduct a member of the Hyuga bloodline. That night, the head of the Lightning Country party, Shinobi Gashier, snuck into the Hyuga compound to abduct Hinata. During his escape, he was stopped and killed by Hinata's father. The Lightning Country denied their ambassador was there to abduct Hinata, and demanded the body of the Hyuga's main patriarch as compensation for the loss of their ninja. Hiyashi's twin brother Hazashi, my father, chose to sacrifice himself in his place. Yeah, I remember all of that now. But what does that have to do with anything now, Neji? Idiot, I tell you this to remind you of the great lengths the Lightning Country and or more specifically its shinobi village Kumogakure have tried go through for years to get hold of a Kekkei Genkai they can use and exploit for themselves in the future. And now that Hinata has decided to sacrifice herself and willingly go to them to protect Konoha. Tell me, Naruto, just what do you think is going to happen to her once she arrives in Kumogakure? Wah! What do you mean what's going to happen to her? Hinata will be alright, won't she? Naruto stammered in a panic-stricken voice. If by alright, Naruto, you mean Hinata becomes nothing more than breeding stock for the Raikage, and Kami knows who else he may give her to so she can be raped every 9 months to churn out Kumogakure babies with the Hyuga bloodline, then yes, Naruto, Hinata will be just fine. Neji angrily spat with derisive sarcasm. No, that can't be true, can it? Naruto exclaimed, as he looked to Kakashi and Tsunade to refute Neji's statement. I'm afraid it is a potential possibility, Naruto. Neji is correct about Kumogakure zealously trying to obtain a Kekkei Genkei over the years for themselves. I remember back in the Third Great Shinobi War, our forces were ordered to kill any of our shinobi who possessed a Kekkei Genkei if it looked as though they would be captured by the Lightning Country's forces, rather than allow them to obtain a bloodline trait. Kakashi grimly states, while recalling that memory. That order dates back to the Second Great Shinobi War, Kakashi. Tsunade added with regret. So the Raikage may try to breed Hinata like cattle. Does she know about this? Hi Naruto, she knows. Hinata has had nightmares for years of being kidnapped or captured by the Lightning Country and of what would happen to her. Then why would she volunteer to go there and become the Raikage's wife, Neji? Gee, I don't know, Naruto. Maybe the fact that the man she loves just spit in her face by saying all the feelings she has for him is nothing but a lie. Do you think that might have had something to do with it? Naruto began to hyperventilate at the tortuous thoughts of what could happen to Hinata were she to go to Kumogakure. In a panic, his control of the Kyuubi no Yuko and his eyes narrowed to slits before a flare of red chakra erupted from his body, throwing Neji away from him. Tsunade ran over to check on Neji, who was a little shaken up, but otherwise fine, while Kakashi bolted up from his chair and pleaded. Naruto, try to calm down. We don't know for sure if that would happen to Hinata. No, Kakashi-sensei, I can tell you that will never happen to Hinata. I'll kill the Raikage myself before he ever lays a dirty finger on her. Naruto growled out in a deep resonating voice, before flashing some hand signs and yelling out. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Shadow Clone Technique. A second later, the Hokage's office was suddenly filled with 50 Naruto shadow clones when their summoner ordered with authority. All of you spread out and find Hinata now. Immediately, all 50 clones started jumping out of the Hokage's office in different directions to search for the wayward Hyuga girl. While Naruto stood silently on the balcony with his eyes closed and waited impatiently for them to report back. Kakashi, Tsunade, and Neji watched the unmoving blonde nervously to see what he would do next. A couple of minutes later, Naruto's eyes shot open and they were back to their original obsidian blue color, as he stated out loud before leaping away. Found her. As the trio left in the office watched Naruto bound away, Neji spoke up and asked with concern. Is Hinata going to be alright with Naruto in that state of mind? Hi Neji, she will be fine. I think your educational speech to Naruto was just the slap to his face he needed to come to grasp of what Hinata just did, and of the pain he had caused her. If I know Naruto, he's going to make amends to the girl or die trying. Kakashi stated with assurance. A moment later, there was a knock on the Hokage's door. Kakashi's bade whomever it was to enter and the door opened up to reveal Hiashi Hyuga stepping into the office, as he looked around with confusion and asked. Where is my daughter and the Namikaze heir? I thought they were here to complete the clan betrothal act between them. Well you see Lord Hyuga. I'm sorry Hiashi-sama, Lady Hinata and Lord Namikaze left a few minutes ago to discuss the betrothal of the two. Lord Namikaze wished to be certain that Lady Hinata was not forced or coerced into accepting this marriage to him and wanted to make sure that it was something Lady Hinata truly wanted to do. Neji interrupted, as he diplomatically lied to the Hyuga patriarch, much to the shock of both Kakashi and Tsunade. HMPH, does the boy actually think I would force my own daughter to marry him? Hiashi declared with annoyance. Please do not take offense Hiyashi-sama, but I believe he's taken a prudent course of action considering our clan's interactions with him in the past, as well as his knowledge of our treatment of Hinata growing up. I find his action to be commendable that he is taking Lady Hinata's thoughts and feelings into account before finalizing the marriage between them. Hiyashi winced slightly at his nephew's subtle reminder of how his clan had treated Naruto in the past, as well as its oppressive upbringing of Hinata. Clearing his throat, Hiyashi replied with genuine respect for the boy. Ahem, you're correct, Neji. I do find it noble that the Namikaze heir is considerate of my daughter's feelings on the matter before they become husband and wife. Fortunately, we already know that Hinata is quite happy and content to become his bride. So I doubt we will have to wait very long for them to return. May I take a seat while we wait, Hokage-sama? Please, Lord Hyuga, take a seat and rest yourself. I shall order some refreshments for us while we wait. Kakashi courteously replied, before sending a grateful look towards Neji, silently thanking the young man for not revealing what had actually happened. Hinata sat with her head hanging down on a lone empty bench in a small secluded park, and the tears she had been shedding since leaving the Hokage's office heartbroken had not ceased. Never in her wildest imagination could she have ever believed that Naruto would ever think those things of her. Hinata wondered what could have brought on such a drastic and heart-wrenching change in the personality of the boy she has loved her whole life. As she pondered this, she heard someone land a few feet away from her, and then a voice she knew all too well called out shakily to her. Hinata. Hinata turned her body away from the voice and attempted to wipe away her tears before coldly declaring, Go away, Naruto. Naruto felt like someone had shoved an ice-cold kunai into his heart upon hearing Hinata's tone of voice, and tears began to well in his eyes, as he frantically stammered. Please Hinata, let me explain. What's there to explain, Naruto? I'm just some shallow, superficial gold digger who only wants to marry you because you're the son of the fourth Hokage. All of my feelings for you are nothing but lies, remember? Hinata whirled around and spat with venom, as her tears continued to stream down her face, breaking Naruto's heart and spirit when he saw them, before she added with spite. Just go away, Naruto. I wouldn't want a scheming, devious girl such as myself to ruin the reputation of the last living legacy of the fourth by you associating with her. Hinata then rose and began to walk away when she heard a sound that made her heart freeze. Quickly turning around, she saw Naruto on his knees with his head hung low, sobbing, while his arms were hanging loosely at his sides. Walking over with a little trepidation, Hinata kneeled down and cupped his cheek before Naruto suddenly enveloped her in a tight hug and openly cried into her shoulder while begging. Please Hinata, don't hate me. Sob, I don't think I could live if I thought you hated me. Sob, I'm so sorry I hurt you, Hinata. Please forgive me, I didn't mean to do it. Sob, I'm just so confused right now. The last 24 hours has turned my life into chaos and I don't know what to think anymore. Sob, yesterday I was just plain old Naruto Uzumaki, today that's been forgotten by everyone, even my friends. Now I'm the legacy of the Yondaime and everyone is treating me like royalty. Sob, people that used to treat me poorly growing up now all of a sudden want to be my friend, and even my true friends are acting all different around me now. I just don't understand it. Sob, I'm still the same person I was yesterday, but now I just don't know who I can trust anymore. It's alright, Naruto-kun. I don't hate you, I could never hate you. I love you, Naruto-kun, and you can always trust me, now and forever. Hinata stated with love and sincerity, as she lovingly stroked his hair. I know that, Hinata, you're the one person I should have trusted, but like the baka I am, I didn't. Sob, you've never lied to me my entire life. Sob, but what did I do to the person who has always cared about me? I lashed out and hurt you because I let my feelings about others affect my judgment. Sob, I'm sorry, Hinata, please forgive me. I just couldn't believe a girl like you would ever want or feel that way about a guy like me. Sob. What do you mean, a girl like me? Come on, Hinata, you know what I mean. You're kind and smart and beautiful, not to mention you're also a princess of one of the most powerful clans in Konoha. Why would I ever think that a girl as classy, pretty, and as special as you would have anything to do with a loser like me? So when you said you were happy and honored to become my wife, I figured it was just because you had learned of my true heritage. Naruto dejectedly said, as his sobbing subsided. Naruto-kun, I don't care where you come from, I never have. I love you because of who you have been your whole life and nothing more. I just don't understand, Hinata. Why would you care about me so much? I'm such a fool. I never saw or knew how you truly felt about me. Why would you want to be with someone as dense as me? I was no different with you than Sakura was with me growing up. I ignored you and didn't even realize I was doing it. I'm no better than Sakura. In fact, I'm worse. Naruto said in a choked voice, looking up into the face of one angry Hyuga princess who began to say. I can't believe you would say that about yourself, Naruto-kun. You've never abused, insulted or treated me badly in any way growing up. You didn't purposely ignore me. I never expressed to you how I felt because I was always nervous and shy around you. But that wasn't your fault but mine. When you did talk to me, you were always friendly and kind and caring. You never treated me like I was nothing, not like Sakura did to you. Well, I finally learned that harsh lesson about Sakura yesterday. Naruto mumbled. What was that, Naruto-kun? I'm sorry, it's nothing, Hinata. Hinata, please don't sacrifice yourself to the Raikage to save the village. Even though Neji is right and I don't deserve you, please do me the honor of becoming your husband so that doesn't happen. Naruto-kun, do you love me? Hinata-chan, I don't know what love is anymore. I never had it growing up, so I don't know what it feels like. I thought I did, but after what happened yesterday in the council meeting with Sakura, I realized that perhaps I never knew what love is. What happened in the council session with Sakura? It doesn't matter, Hinata. Let's just say I had my eyes open to some things, that's all. So I can't truthfully say that I love you. But I can tell you that you are one of my most precious people. And the thought of you being unhappy or hurt in any way makes me feel awful inside. All I want to do is make you feel happy and safe, and if you become my wife, that will be my promise of a lifetime. I don't know if that's love, but if what I'm feeling for you is something that you can live with, then please marry me, Hinata. Hi Naruto-kun, I can live with that because I feel the same way about you. I will marry you, Naruto-sama. Please, Hinata-chan, you don't have to honor me with the suffix. The truth of the matter is, if anyone deserves the title in our marriage, it's you. Giggle, please, Naruto-kun, don't do that. I don't mind addressing you with that honorific, but if you wish, I won't anymore. Thanks, my Haim, we'd better get back to the Hokage's office and sign off on this marriage. Then I'm taking you to the fanciest restaurant in the village to celebrate. Naruto declared with enthusiasm, as he encircled Hinata's waist with his arm and they leapt away. The Hyuga girl sported a fierce blush on her face at the feel of Naruto's arm around her and of his affectionate pet name of which he addressed her. Naruto was smiling from ear to ear as he prepared breakfast. He still couldn't believe the events that had transpired the day before. The blonde Jinchuriki's thoughts about his second marriage in as many days were certainly more positive than about the first. It still boggled Naruto's mind that a girl as beautiful and special as Hinata would ever have anything to do with him, but after yesterday, she had definitely proved him wrong. Blushing, Naruto returned his attention back to the eggs and bacon he was currently frying up when he heard a knock on his front door. Still grinning from ear to ear, he opened the door brightly before his smile disappeared upon seeing who was standing before him. Hello Naruto. Hello Sakura. What brings you to the monster's lair this morning? Naruto answered before looking to the ground. Sakura winced upon hearing this, and she had seen Naruto's smile disappear when he opened the door and saw her standing there. When she heard the tone of his reply, she suddenly felt sick to herself. Naruto always had a smile for her in the past, and his voice was always one of warmth and friendliness. Now the smile and happy voice she had always secretly enjoyed from him was gone. The fact that Naruto wouldn't even look at her as he spoke was like a kunai to her heart. Sakura masked her pain as best she could and answered. Naruto, I'm sorry about what I said in the council. I wanted to talk to you about it and try to explain. Naru-kun, what are you making for breakfast? A voice rang out behind Naruto, interrupting Sakura, who looked over to see Hinata step out of his bedroom fixing her hair. Both Sakura and Hinata froze as each of them caught sight of each other. Hinata froze upon seeing Sakura and Sakura froze upon seeing Hinata, or more importantly of what Hinata was wearing. If you want to see a picture of what Hinata looked like, go to the Kinkakashi bio page. Sakura-san. Hinata stammered in surprise.